You are listening to Co-Create Your Life. In this podcast, we delve deep into the law of attraction, dispel common misconceptions, and give our listeners the tools they need to build a magical, purposeful existence in their everyday lives. Reclaim the creative power you already possess and join us at cocreationcoaching.org/create. That's cocreationcoaching.org/create.
Welcome to Co-Create Your Life. This is episode 25, How Goal Statements Can Help You to Manifest More Easily. I am Brandon Oliveris.
And I'm Christine Oliveris.
And I'm Justin Williams.
And today we are talking about goal statements, obviously from the title. And what the heck are goal statements? Why should you use them? How can they help you to manifest your goals a lot more easily, to make it a lot more effortless? We'll talk about all that in this podcast. But before we get started with that, I want to make some announcements. Firstly, if you would like to see the show notes or read the transcript for this podcast, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/create025 to read that. And if you'd like to ask a question to be answered not in this podcast, so I don't know why I keep announcing it here, but it's just habit, you can go to...
I wondered.
You can go to cocreationcoaching.org/ask, and we'll absolutely not answer it here, but we will answer it in a Reader's Questions video.
Maybe you should stop that line.
I will stop it, but I already said first, so if there's a first, there has to be a second. That's a really big pet peeve of mine, so I couldn't really do that.
Okay, then.
Yeah, that's just how it goes, you know? Okay.
You're a weirdo head.
I am a weirdo head. So, today's topic is goal statements. And before we get started on that, we have our segment, Quote of the Week. And our quote of the week, we always go over and discuss what quote we just posted, usually from the previous week. And this week's quote, technically last week's quote, is from someone, I'm going to probably butcher their name, and I didn't really find how to pronounce it, Steve Maraboli. That sounds pretty correct.
It's
anyway,
not Italian to me.
It's Maraboli.
Maraboli.
Thank you, Miss Resident Italian.
That's how I pronounce it.
Maraboli. We're going to Americanize it. All right.
You're going to kill me. Okay.
So that's the author, and he says, if you have a goal, write it down. If you do not write it down, you do not have a goal, you have a wish. I really like that. I think that's really good.
But I don't like to write things down, so...
Well, too bad.
Maybe you can convince me.
Maybe I can convince you. So that's what he says, and we will actually discuss that first before goal statements. Goal statements aren't necessarily written down, but we will discuss writing down goals first. So getting right into that, do you need to necessarily write down your goals? The answer is no, not necessarily. I've manifested lots and lots of things without ever writing them down.
You're also very visual.
I am also very visual.
And I feel like writing is a very visual thing.
Yeah, I think there are lots of ways. What writing it down does, and Justin, you were talking about this before the podcast started, is basically grounds that energy into reality. You know, makes it more real.
It's there on paper in front of you.
Yeah.
Or on your computer screen. Exactly,
right. It makes it more real for you. You know, but it's not absolutely necessary. I will say this. I have written down goals before, and every single one of those goals I have achieved. Okay, now whether that's coincidence or not, I have no idea. I will also say this. The step of actually writing down your goal is a really difficult step.
It's
because
true.
I can imagine, just take like one of your biggest goals. I can imagine that in my head all day, and I might even be able to form it into a statement. But to take that and sit down and write it down, or type it out, which I do because, I can't really write. But
You could.
I could would be in all caps, print letters, and I couldn't read it.
And it would give me a headache.
I don't know lowercase print, and I don't really know cursive at all, except for writing my signature. But, for typing it down is just good. But to actually do that takes a lot more than just imagining it or saying it out loud to yourself through an affirmation or in your head or whatever. Okay, I remember when I set the goal of getting off of SSI, I had the goal, and one day I said, you know what? I'm going to write this down, because I started this habit of writing down, of journaling my goals. I've talked about journaling before, especially in the Art of Reality Creation 2.0 class, I talked about it. And so I started this habit of journaling my goals, and, so I start the goal, I write it down, what my intention is, and then I journal as though it's already done, right? I try to do that daily. Usually it's more like every few days because I'm not very good at it. But what I do then is once it's achieved, I go back. Usually I don't remember for like a few weeks. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got that. And then I go back and by the way, on this date, I got the goal. Just so I can look back, oh, I achieved that. I achieved that, And so when I wanted to get off of SSI, supplemental security income, for anyone who doesn't know.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yes, I chose to write down the goal, but I remember sitting there. It was in early March. I remember sitting there and just thinking, this is really hard. This is just really, really hard to actually sit down and write this out or type it out. I mean, it was very difficult. But I ended up doing it. It took me about 5 minutes to collect myself and actually do it. And it happened. It happened within a month, So I do think writing down your goal is really powerful. If that's not your modality, if that's not the way that you, see things, then you don't necessarily have to. Like I said, I've achieved plenty of things with it just being in my head. But it's just a different level to actually sit down and write it out on paper or in a document on your computer, and then it's there. It's proof that you had that goal, and it's no longer something you can just forget about. It's either pass fail in a way, like you either achieve it or you don't. There's no halfway, right? So if I'll say it this way, so if you're confident enough in your ability to manifest, what I recommend doing is writing down every goal. Maybe take like a list of goals and check off each goal as it manifests. Now, if you've never manifested a significant goal before, this might not be the best thing to do, because it's going to get really discouraging. Like, hey, wait a second. I had this goal from last 3 months ago and it's still not manifested. And here's this other one, and here's this other one from a year ago. Only if you've gotten, this is like an intermediate technique, I would say. Okay, if you've gotten pretty good at manifesting, then write down a list of your goals, and as you achieve them, check it off.
For me, it works really. I think it's a great tactic. For me, though, writing it down isn't a necessary thing. I just achieve mine in such funny ways that it just. But I would like. It's one of those tactics I would like to employ more, because I think it really works. Just to stare at it, look at it, get the feel of it. When you read it and you go, okay, that's what it actually feels and sounds like. That's, to me, I think that's very valuable. You should get the mental picture of it.
It's definitely a powerful technique, and even as a beginner, you can, I recommend goal journaling, where you do write it down, you pretend as if it's already done through journaling, and then go back and check it off once it is done. But only do that for things that you are absolutely committed to. And actually, especially if you're working with a coach like myself, and a lot of times I will have my clients do this specifically, because my job as a coach is to have you achieve your goal. So, that's my job to do that. And so, you're going to make progress with it, because that's what I'm going to do. And I am very very definitive about that, let's say. So, especially if you're working with someone or if you've taken a major step towards a goal, that you're basically challenging the universe. Hey, universe, you better, pony up on this goal. You ever do that? You know what I mean? You better.
Ante up, God, ante up. Come on, divine boy, do what you got.
Divine boy, huh? I like that.
Not do that, guys.
Yeah. But in general, if you're saying, "Hey, universe, I've done this thing. You better get a move on here." Hey, I'd do it.
Yes, you are an instigator.
I am an instigator. But, then definitely write it down because that's all the more energy. But again, if you're just a beginner where you have little to no faith in this whole process, it might be too much. Even, to just write down and journal it. It just might be too much.
We might get all this.
If you're a beginner or if you just don't want to journal it, I might recommend a prayer box where you write your prayers down, put it in there, and then it'll, at some point you'll look back and realize you've achieved them. The other thing is just write it down in a file on your computer and that's it. Maybe write down some, feelings you get about it and then let it go. Don't try and journal it every day because maybe you don't want to see it every day.
I think, it's so hard because I've heard that advice. It's never, ever worked. I've written down like lists of goals before and then just let them go, like a lot of people say. And it's never worked for me. I mean...
Yeah, I've never tried that. I've just heard of people try it, and it seems like it's for people who don't want to interact with their goal like that, I guess.
I've returned back to it like a year later or months later and either realized I never got these things, but a lot of times I realize I actually don't want these things anymore. Like, I'll go back and look at my goals. And I'm like, did I really want that? Like, what was I thinking? So
I don't remember this.
Yeah, well, I never.
Yeah, I don't.
Of course.
That's not a tactic I use. But if you really don't want to get down in there yet,
my thing is that it would work for current level goals for sure.
Yeah,
and lesser next level goals.
Mm-hmm.
But not for something with big resistance that you have to work at it day after day after day. You just have to sometimes, so I would not use it for something like that where it feels really big to you. You know what I mean? Like it just, it just doesn't, you don't build as much momentum when you just write it down and let it go.
Nope. You sure don't.
It might help you. What it might do is help you release that bit of resistance that was blocking you from it. And so you'll see it only if you were like right there and all you had to do was let go. But most of the people I work with are those that aren't right there. So if they let go, it's not going to work.
Yeah. I like going at it.
Yeah. It's like the analogy comes to mind is like you can be hanging off a cliff and there can be a nice pool of water 2 feet below you and then it's going to work out pretty well, or there might be nothing but air for 200 feet and it's not going to work out so well. Like if it's right below you, yeah, let go and just, splash in. That's going to work. But if everyone's telling, oh, I just let go and it just worked out. If you're really 200 feet above...
It's not going to work, guys.
It's not going to work. That's not going to end so well for you, right? So...
Unless you rappel down the cliff.
Well, I'm just saying let go.
I know.
Just, you're not attached at all. You're just letting go.
Yeah. That's what I really would like to get more into writing down a goal that you're absolutely committed to. And, I think that's a powerful tactic.
So what is a goal statement? That's really the big question. So a goal statement, whether you write it down or not, is, okay, without being really obvious about it, a statement about your goal. Okay. It just kind of came to my mind and I'm like, well, okay, I just have to say it because it's going to nag at me if I don't say it. Anyway, that's not really useful. So a goal statement is basically a way of getting really clear about what you want. I tell all of my clients this. I always tell them, I am about practical results. Okay. Some teachers, you go out there and they'll say, well, as long as you feel good, it doesn't really matter if you get it. No. I'll say this. I've never, ever, ever, ever talked to a person who's like, yeah, I haven't gotten it yet. It's been like 3 years, but you know what? I feel really good, so I really don't care if I get it.
No.
I've never once have I gotten that as a response. Never. Okay? Never.
And they wouldn't be going to coaching. If they didn't.
Coach. But I've never seen it even in a comment on the blog or anything. I've never seen someone say that. That's just illusion. A
lot of people, even people that like aren't going for goals that are money or super solid, they actually still want the thing they're after. That's what they don't even. It's like, dude, no, you still want peace with whatever your neighbor.
Right. Right.
You still want peace with your neighbor. That's why you tried that.
Right.
You don't go, I don't have peace with her, but it's okay.
Right.
No.
It's really not okay.
It's really not okay.
I've never seen that happen. So that's not a thing. So a goal statement will help you to have practical results. Okay. And it will help you get really specific. Again, it's really scary. A lot of people give me resistance on this because they'll say, like, they'll give excuses. What if I don't quite know what I want? Well, okay, let's get clear on that then. That's sort of the first job. What if I change my mind later? That's all right. A lot of people don't want to do this. Why? Because it's taking the law of attraction. It's basically doing exactly what Steve Maraboli says here, taking from a wish to a goal. In my language, what do I always say? From a daydream to an actual goal.
Yeah.
Okay. That's scary. It's really scary. So, but that's what you have to do. And it's not going to be easy because your subconscious is going to fight back. Like, as long as it's just pretty images in your head, it's kind of easy to just sort of be like, yeah, I'm just going to feel good about it, and whatever. But once you write that down, or once you formulate it into a statement, whether you write it down or not, and get really specific about it, this is exactly what I want, this is when I want it, then it's a lot more real. There's a difference between I want to start a business and I'm going to start a business by January 1st. That's a big difference. Or, I'm going to start a business and within the next 6 months, I'm going to be making this much money. That's a huge difference. Feel that. Or whatever your goal is. Feel the general version of it and then get really super specific about it and feel that difference. So a goal statement is going to help you get very specific, very practical. Because again, we are all here to get that thing. We're not here to just feel good and whatnot. We're all here to get actually that thing that we want. So the first thing, like I said, it's going to help you get clear. Okay? Because a lot of times we have a vague idea of what we want and nothing more. So if you are struggling forming a goal statement, then, because you're not really clear on what exactly you want, that's pointing to something. Because as long as you're not clear about what you want, you really don't have the momentum or the leverage to get it. So if you're struggling with that, that's a sign you need to sit down and get clear about, okay, what is it I actually do want? You don't have to set a date. Some people get a little too resistant about dates. It often works for me, but sometimes it doesn't. But just get specific, what exactly do you want to do? What exactly do you want? And that's a really big question, okay? If it's like some kind of, if it's a job, let's say, what are your responsibilities at that job? How much do you want to get paid at that job? Do you want to be work from home or work from the office? How many hours do you want to work a week? Lots of things like that you can put into the goal. Okay.
But if you don't know that stuff, don't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you might not care. Well, if I work from home, I work from home. If I work from the office, it's fine. If you don't care about that detail, don't add it. But get like the top 2 or 3 details you really care about. Okay. I want to work in this field. I want to make this much at a minimum. And, I want to be working 40 hours a week or whatever. Okay. that's what you're going to do, and that's going to be real specific. If it's money that you want, okay, how much do you want and how much time? I want $2,000 in the next month, okay? Or I want to be making, let's say $4,000 a month by the end of the year or something like that, okay? If it's business, you can say I want this number of clients by this date, or within 3 months or whatever. If it's a relationship, I want to start dating someone within a month, okay? And this person should have these qualities, 2 or 3 qualities that are really important to you, So that's the kind of thing you want to do with goal statements. You want to get kind of specific about things that you care about, right? Not things you don't care about, not things you don't really, could take or leave it, but things that you really, really care about. All right, so that's what a goal statement's for, is getting clear on those things. Again, if you're not sure yet, then take that time and become sure. Get really certain about what it is you want. Okay, and like I said, you don't have to include a date, but it can help in certain things, because otherwise it's just really wide open, and you don't want that. The other thing that goal statements will help you do that you want to make sure of is help you to feel the emotion you want to feel. Okay, so it's sort of a way you want to word it in a way that is going to help you to feel the emotion of having achieved that goal and feeling that emotion in the most potent way possible. And this is the other reason you want details, okay? Because if you say, let's say, I want a new job. Okay, great, fine. I want a job where I'm making $60,000 a year and doing something I really love, and you can insert whatever that specific thing is, and people really look up to me and whatnot. That moves a lot more energy than just, I want a job, right?
It's like, who cares?
Right. It moves a lot more energy.
And you're very blasé about it, too.
Right, yeah. So even if you really want that, just, I want a job. Okay, well, great. Okay, good luck with that. But when you add the details, that helps you to feel emotions, and that's what you want. So you want a goal statement, you want to formulate it that it triggers the most positive emotions possible. And you can play around with the wording, see which details really do that for you, see what wording really does that for you. A lot of adjectives will do that usually. Speaking, not I want, usually, but speaking as though, either I choose or I have. Usually a statement where you already have it, it's already done. It's the kind of thing you want also. Because an I want statement is like, again, well,
I don't like want.
That's great, you want it. Right, it kind of remains, well, you want it, all right, that's done, you want it. So if you say I have, then that's a lot better, or something like that.
Yeah, want kind of stops your energy.
Yeah.
But it's all energy, guys. So if I want works for you, then use it. But I do not use I want. I do not use it.
I would use more experiential verbs and words. So I am, I have, I choose, stuff like that. Yeah.
I have. I have.
Yeah. So, and that goes along with the NLP technique we talked about in the last week's Creator Circle. We talked about putting it in the past. I already have it. It's already done, on your timeline. So that's an important thing. So you definitely want it to trigger emotions. Again, play around with the words and let it trigger those emotions for you that are going to bring the best results.
Even in the Bible, it's, there are things like, by his stripes we were healed, not we are. So like there are things like that you would, like that were already done. Like that you would say that were already done. Do you know what exactly. I mean? Like Jesus did that all the time.
Right, sure. Yeah. So it has to be, it can be present tense or past tense. I mean, as long as it's not will be or, I want or something that's like in the future or not here yet. Yeah. You don't want that. So you don't want to imagine you're going that way. That was always a big thing. Like in the NLP community, they say, look at your goals in a dissociative way, like see you in the future having them. because they say if your subconscious mind sees it right now, so it's done, then it won't be motivated to get it. I have struggled with this question.
What?
Yes. That's
All
what
right.
they say.
Say that again.
Okay, NLP people, like the big NLP teachers, say that when you're imagining a goal, to imagine it third person, like seeing yourself having it, not actually stepping into the picture, so you're dissociated.
I feel like that's kind of
and then your subconscious mind will be more motivated to get it, that if your subconscious mind thinks it has it now, it won't want to go out and try to get it. So
that's weird.
Whereas
I don't like it.
Whereas law of attraction teachers say, no, put it in the present, put it in the past, whatever, you already have it. I've struggled a lot with this question. I've asked several NLP teachers. I've done it experientially. You know, for me, I disagree with that advice that the NLP
I do
teachers
too.
have.
So they're saying if you have it in the future, your subconscious mind won't struggle for it because it already has it?
No, if you have it in the present, if you imagine already having it now, then your subconscious mind won't care to actually try to do anything. So they tell you to see it in the future so that it makes your subconscious mind want to have it and go after it.
It
Man,
really
that doesn't even. No, I see what they're saying. It almost sounds like you're just doing the same thing, but you're just moving it out into the future. I don't know. The thing is, it's okay to see it in the future. I don't know. I just think that if you keep it in the future, it stays there.
It just stays there. I don't think it's okay to put in the future because
I just think it stays there. I don't know. I don't like
for
that.
me, you can experience resistance when you try to move it into the present because your subconscious mind is saying, hey, I don't have it yet. And that resistance is a great way of working through your stuff, right? So you want to keep putting into the present, even into the past.
Into the past, even.
And work through the stuff that comes up because of that. And then once you firmly have it, then outer reality has to change to get it. I think the thing is that NLP people aren't coming from a frame of spirituality and law of attraction.
Yeah,
they don't.
Different.
They're coming from a frame of you have to take actions to go get your goal. And so if you believe on some level you already have it, you won't take actions to go get it. Whereas we're saying from the spiritual point of view, you want your goal, and your outer reality is a reflection of your inner reality. So once you have it within, you will naturally set the events in motion, whether that's action or otherwise, to get that goal.
Again, who do you need to be?
Right, who do you need to be?
I actually like the NLP method if you're not using law of attraction. Like, I don't think you should use, in other words, I see because they're coming from different methodologies. I've studied different forms of martial arts, so it's actually you can see what they're talking about. I just don't plan to use it because the only time I project it into the future is if I'm trying to set the goal to see what it is. And
right, if you're playing around with the energy.
Yeah, then I'm going to pull it to me. Since I'm not an NLPer, since I'm
NLP practitioner.
NLP practitioner, I think is what you're looking for.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm tired, man. I'm serious.
Like to look in on not how you expected.
I'm sorry about that. So since I'm not an NLP practitioner, I'm not going to do that. Right. But I mean, if I'm just not going to do that.
Right, exactly. So,
but I see what they're saying. It does make sense.
So yeah, you definitely, you want to put it into the present or the past, and that's going to make it a lot more real to you.
Yep.
So
I like to try to put mine into the present, then pull it into the past.
I mean, it's kind of one step at a time. Whatever works. Yeah. Just sort of whatever works for you. So yeah, your goal statement's going to do that for you. It's going to help you to make it very real, right now, and that's what you want. So like I've said, reword it, play around with the wording as much as you need to, and that's what your goal statement is just going to help you to achieve those things. Again, going to be detailed and going to trigger emotions for you. You want to play around with descriptive words. You want to use experiential words. I have, I am, I choose, stuff like that. And that's the kind of thing that a goal statement is made of. Now, some people will say, what if I change my mind? Now, for me, there are two parts to this because number one, okay, if you change your mind in the future, no harm done, fine. Sometimes you think, I want this job, and then you're 3 months into the future and not so much, and that's okay, so you can change your mind even in the midst of manifestation. You can kind of change the direction things are going into. But you don't want this. We have this thing in programming called analysis paralysis. Okay, which is basically in programming where you're trying to figure out how best to design, to structure this program that you never get started. Okay, and that's a very real thing that people can get stuck in. And that can happen with goals too. Well, what if I want to have this other job? Or what if I want to really work from home? Or what if I want to actually work from the office? Or what if, I want this? Or what if I want that? Or, just pick something and start moving with it. If you're not really sure, take some time to get sure as much as you can. But there comes a point, people will start changing. This comes a lot with money. Someone will say, well, I had a client once who said, well, I want to manifest $500. I'm just making up numbers. I don't remember exactly what it was. I want to manifest $500 this month. Well, actually, that won't really cover what I want it to do. So actually, let's try 1,000. Well, no, that seems like too much. Let's try 800. This is like every session. No, I actually need more like 1,500. I'm like, just choose something.
I might know who it is.
And you do. And she never got anywhere because she kept wavering on the number. I'm like, just choose a number. Like, I remember last December, that does rhyme, and I don't care. And and I set a really big goal for me at the time, monetarily, financially. And once I realized, like, the elements I thought would be in place to help me achieve that goal weren't going to be in place, I kind of freaked out, like, oh my gosh, maybe I should change it. And I said, well, I already said it. I really don't want to change it, so I'm just going to do it. Okay? And
guess what? You did it.
We did it. It was a ton of stress, but we did it. I did it. Okay? So that's, don't go changing your mind every day. If you need some time before you create the statement, to kind of figure out what you want, then take that time. But don't go changing it every day, every week, whatever, depending on your mood or whatnot. Choose something and run with it. Just choose something. Seriously. You don't have to, have an analysis paralysis where you're trying to figure out what exactly it is. If you're starting to see progress and you realize, wait a second, that's not actually what I want, or the universe shows you a sign that, hey, actually this is not the best for you, then go ahead and change it. But just for now, just pick something if you can't really come to a specific conclusion, okay? Because, a lot of people say, well, can't I stay general for a while? I'm going to say, no, not really. Not if you really want your goal.
It shouldn't be out of fear.
Yeah, if you need time to think about it, but don't expect to get that goal in that time. You're just delaying it, all right? If you need that time, whatever, but you're not going to get the goal in that time, all right? So get specific, create the statement, and then run with it. And if it changes, it changes, but don't change it yourself every other day. You don't want to do that.
It can change organically, but it shouldn't.
Right,
it shouldn't change. You might set a goal for a certain thing, a number or a certain kind of job, and then another one comes free that actually fulfills most of it. And then you can say, well, I'll take that one and then jump to the next.
Exactly.
Later. Or you might decide to totally change. Or you might say, hey, what I want, I can actually go to this next path B and eventually get back around the path A. Well, that part's fine too.
Sure.
I almost never say to cut path A loose, the goal your main goal loose, because
unless you're positive you don't.
Because that's really what you wanted. Right. So it almost never serves you to do it. It's okay to decide to take sub goals to get there, but I don't like cutting if you had a goal, unless unless you're absolutely sure you don't want it, man, stick with it.
So, like for me, example is like the way I got off of SSI was getting a job, because that was like the most believable way for me. And that's what happened. But now I'm like, 5 months in, and it's not my way anymore that I want to do it. And so now I'm changing. Okay, this is actually not what I want to do. I want something else. I want coaching to be the thing. And, so I've been making that a reality. And so I changed the energy, and now it's going that direction. So, even once it's manifested, you can change directions. This is an ever-growing, ever-changing tapestry that you're creating day by day. You want to actually get started. That's the big thing. Get started, set a direction, see how the energy goes. If you need to change it, you change it. The last point I want to add is, once you have that statement, go over it, daily, even twice a day. Say the statement to yourself. You don't have to do it out loud. In your mind is okay. Use it as an affirmation. Write it down. Some people write it down daily. I've heard of that before.
I've heard people like hang it up, like if you are working somewhere, hang it up in your office or something.
Just keep reminding yourself of that statement every time. But it's not just the words. The words don't have power in themselves. What it is, every time you say it or read it or think it, go into that feeling place.
It has to tap that core part of you.
Yes, feel it deeply. Let it really sink in. Feel it. Feel it for a good 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Doesn't really matter how long, just a few minutes. I'm not going to say like exactly how many seconds or how many minutes or something. Just let it really sink in. Really, really enjoy it. Bask in that feeling. If resistance comes up, deal with it with mindfulness or whatever. And that's it. So every time you say that statement, just make sure you really go to that place. And what starts to happen is it becomes an NLP anchor, where the statement by itself will automatically trigger the feeling, and then you don't have to actually do anything. Which is great. So the more you associate that statement with the feeling of what you want, the easier it will be to get to that place. And it'll almost be effortless just to stay there, when you say that statement, and just to be there for a while. Okay. So that is the big thing you want to do. And so, like I said, do that daily. You don't want to do this thing where it's like, where you do it irregularly. I mean, do it at least every day, I recommend. I'm not so great with it, so even every few days. But the more you do it, the better. Within reason, not 30 times a day. Okay. Yeah. So, that is everything for me. I think that was a great topic, and I hope that helps you to recognize how to create your goal statements, how to achieve your goals with that, how to get real specific. I think it's a really good discussion to have. So, once again, some final announcements. If you want to see the show notes or read the transcript, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/create025. If you'd like to subscribe to us on iTunes or rate or review the podcast, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/create iTunes, and that will redirect you to our iTunes page. So I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and we will be back next week with another Co-Create Your Life episode. Once again, I am Brandon Oliveras.
And I'm Christina Oliveras.
And I'm Justin Williams.
Anything is possible.